Hi everybody, welcome to OC Aviary. I hope you're all doing well. For episode 3 of Breeding British Birds today, we have disaster with some of the hybrids, we have excitement with some of the natives, and we have a lot of relief with some of the canaries, all of which you'll see today. Beginning with our hybrid pairs, we might as well get the disaster over with. So we had a pair of canary bullies. So we had a white Norwich canary with a bullfinch hen. The pair were getting on well. We paired them in October, so they've been paired a good 6 months now. And the other day I came into the shed and found him on the floor. He was got a fair bit of blood on him and he was not in a good state. Now I must say that he is fine now. However, what had happened is the bully hen had clearly had an argument with him, as they often do in hybrid pairs. You know, they're not the same species, so getting them bonded is a somewhat of a difficulty. And either way, she clearly wasn't a fan of him for whatever reason, and she ended up battering him. So he had the whole of the back of his head sort of almost all the feathers plucked out, which is where there was some blood from, and he'd also been clearly chased about and he'd lost a number of flight feathers. And it's a real shame, and I'm not quite sure why she did this, but it does happen. And do remember that it's not just hybrid pairs this happens with. British birds are hard birds to breed. That, you know, there's nothing simple about breeding them at all, and this can happen with any pair of birds. My hawfinches, for example, could turn on each other and have a real go at each other. The greenfinches could do the same. It's nothing to do with it being a hybrid pair, other than they've just not bonded as well as I thought. So anyway, it's annoying, and we can pretty much say that the season's written off for that Norwich canary. However, it does mean that we've now got a spare bully hen. So obviously bully hens aren't easy to come across. We aren't going to be wasting that bird. So what I've done is I've put a spare red polecock in with it. I want to see, they might just click. You know, it does happen where you can put a pair together late and they do click. I'm not quite sure, but I've put them together and they seem to be getting on all right. If all goes well, we might get some red pole bullies from then, so it leaves us 2 red pole bully pairs for this year. And if not, it doesn't matter, and we'll run a bully cock over and we'll just try her for some young bullfinches as well. Hopefully we get some good results from them, and we'll see what happens. For the rest of the hybrid pairs, the red pole bully pair, they've had their egg set now about a week under the razzers. Sadly, I have candled the egg and it is clear. I wasn't really expecting it to be full. Hybrids, again, are very bit difficult to produce. Bully hybrids, even harder, and the egg was clear. But, you know, it happens, it was expected, and I do think that give them another round or so and then we might have a higher chance. And just good news on that pair, they are building up again, and I think hopefully we might see an egg in the coming days. Then for the greenfinch bullfinch pair, the hens picking up material. The Siberians do tend to go down a little bit later than the natives I've found. When I bred them last year and the previous year, the Siberians, they went down the beginning of May. So give it a week or so and I think we'll have a lot more interest from there. However, good news with that pair is that I've seen them feeding each other, which means that they have bonded relatively well. So fingers crossed we might have some greenfinch bullfinch hybrids on our hands within the next few weeks. So fingers crossed. So because the canary bully pair had to be split up, there was no reason to keep them together and it could have caused more problems. I've decided to move the bully hen out. She's gone into a different cage at the moment, an unfamiliar environment to her, with the red polecock, so it's neutral sort of ground. And what I've done is in the cage where that pair were, is put the pair of twice. Now, they've only been in there about 4 days. I think hopefully give them another week or so to settle, and then we might start seeing some action from those guys, hopefully building up their nests. So fingers crossed. But that's the twite pair, all good from those guys, and looking promising so far. The hawfinches, not much has changed really. They're getting on all right. They're somewhat comfortable with each other now. They're sitting closer together, and I think again give it 2 weeks or so, which is when they went down last year, and we might have some more interesting action from those guys. Hopefully the hen interested in going to nest, so we'll see what happens with those guys. With the red poles, it's been a relatively quiet week. We introduced the nest sites last time round, last episode, and we've put the cover up. Now, the pairs have been picking up material, they have been showing interest and signs of wanting to go down, but none of the 8 pairs have yet decided to actually go down and have a real attempt at building. Not sure why, but you know, it's still early and I'm not too worried. Just to let you know, the pair up top here, they are the most forward. They have started building now to more of a degree than anything else. This pair, I've got suspicions are both cockbirds now. Not quite sure if that is wrong, but one of them is squealing and the other one doesn't look too happy with that other bird. Now I'm wondering if it's both cocks. I'm not sure. I've had them both DNA'd and it's come back as a pair, so we'll see if it does end up being 2 cocks. There's a reason we keep spare, you know, we keep spare birds and we have spare hens in the other bird room, so we can sort that out, no problem, and we'll get some extra hens in with them if need be. You know, I'm not too worried. For the rest of the other pairs, everything else is all right. Something I had noticed is that they were pulling at their nest sites an awful lot for the cocoa fibre, and in doing that were sort of rocking the nest sites a rather lot. So what I did is actually took out all the nest pans, got the carbolic soap. I believe I have done a video on that somewhere on the channel. If I have, links up here somewhere. And we've got the carbolic soap, put that on the inside of the sort of the nest pan holder, got on the liner and then stuck it down into that. And we do that with all the birds, do that with all the pairs, so all the canaries nest felts are done like that, and it's to keep away mite. It does a good job, it seals off any holes, and it's just ideal. Might really hate the stuff, and it works well as well. It glues them down. So hopefully, you know, we'll have some more interesting things for you next week with the red poles. The earliest I've had them down previously is, I believe, I want to say 23rd of April is the earliest I've had them down full egg and actually gone and had it successfully. I have had them down at the start of April before, like we had last season, but none of those eggs were full. So, you know, I take it now is a good time for them to start. But again, in the wild, you don't expect them until May. So there's plenty of time for these guys to come round and obviously want to breed. And just keep us fingers crossed for those guys. Touch wood, everything's all right. And all goes well with these guys over the next few weeks. Most of the excitement with the native birds has occurred with the greenfinches. Now, just before we look at these, I want to point out is that we've got some scaffold mesh on here on the roof and on the front. The reason we've done that is I had noticed cats and hawks coming up to the front. There was cats actually on the front of this, and the hawks do seem to like to hold onto it and look at these guys and then go over to the flights over there. So I have put some scaffold mesh up on here and it's working relatively well. The cats and the hawks now can't see these birds very well at all through it. So it just means that these guys are a bit more comfortable, less disturbed, and it also works quite nicely in sort of just dispersing the sunlight so it isn't, you know, beating down on it too much, and so it doesn't get too hot in here, because that's obviously not good. But the greenfinches have really excelled in this past week. We saw last week 2 of the 5 pairs doing well and they were on eggs. Well, that is now the case with these guys. We've got two of the 2 pairs last week, 1 pair on 4 and 1 pair on 5 eggs, which will candle soon. And then we've got 2 other pairs have now laid the 3rd and the 1st egg. So that means that we've got 1 pair that have yet to lay an egg. 4 of the pairs have either sat now, or they're in the process of laying their clutches. So really good. Keep us fingers crossed for those guys going well. For the final pair that haven't, they're just a little bit further behind, but you know what, it's all right. It's a young hen who's just decided to, you know, wait a little bit longer. She has started taking material into the nest, but I think give it another week and we'll have hopefully a bit more excitement from that pair. But either way, I'll take 4 out of 5 for the first round, getting on as well as they have done so far. So let's get to candling the eggs and we'll see how we're getting on. So after candling the eggs of 2 pairs, we've got good news, we've got bad news. In flight number 4, sadly, all 4 eggs are clear. Not quite sure why. Perhaps the cockbird's carrying a bit too much weight even though he'd been in the flight. So I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do about that. I think the best thing I can do is fertility vitamins if there's any problems there, and just let them go another round and hopefully he'll fill those eggs next time round. However, good news with the other pair is that we have got 4 full eggs, which is nice. All 4 eggs are full. Some are more developed than the others, but either way, it's fine. The hen will hopefully do a relatively good job. So fingers crossed that all goes well, and with our other 2 pairs that their eggs are full. We'll let this pair go again. We'll give them some supplements as they need, and we'll give them some dandelions now that they're coming round, and just hopefully next round, all going well, we'll get some full eggs from those guys. Now, some people question why do you bother candling eggs, because they'd rather just leave the parents on the eggs and leave them to it, and the reason being is that we don't want the hens to waste time sat on eggs that aren't going to hatch, and it gives us time to get that further round in if we need it. So it's like they're 4 clear eggs from that hen. They've been sat on now 7 days and no development whatsoever. So if I left them another 7 days and thought they were going to hatch, they're clear. So then the hen's been sat 2 weeks and then going to be sat for a good few more days before she leaves the nest because the eggs are clear. So you might as well remove the eggs and let them rebuild and go down again, and hopefully you'll get clear eggs the next time. But it also means you can identify any issues. So for example, is this cockbird not fit enough, or is there a problem? Is the hen not taking to him and not squatting for him? What's the problem here as to why they're not full? So it means that you can identify those problems as well. So they're just a few of the reasons I candle my eggs, and just remember, always be gentle with them, be very careful. You don't want to be getting full eggs and breaking them, so always be cautious as well. So we've had a rather interesting week with the canaries as well. So ups and downs, good things, bad things. So good news, the Norwich, after 2 weeks of building their nest, have laid, and they've laid 3 eggs. So really good news. So that's a buff green cockbird we got from the Robertson Jones line, to a clear yellow hen. Hopefully those eggs are full. I have seen them mating, so fingers crossed for that. That would be nice to get some young Norwich. And what I've done is I've fostered those 3 eggs under the pair of feeders that we actually got from those guys that have been bred specifically to breed, to rear Norwich. And that pair, on that pair, they've laid 4 eggs. So I've put 3 Norwich under them and given one of their own eggs, just to make up the numbers, make it 4, so there's no suspicion, and they'll be comfortable with that. And then also, if we can get another little feeder reared, that's good news. For the other pairs, we've got our Harlequins. They've built up now, just hoping for an egg any day. Our Portuguese Harlequins, candled those eggs, all 4 are full. The pair of yellow dimorphics, that pair on some new colour eggs, all 4 of those are full. The pair of new colours, the AA opals, underneath those, which are actually the parents to those eggs which are in the dimorphics, they've built up, no egg yet. The Irish have laid 2 eggs, but not bothered sitting, so they might foster those eggs out, I'm not sure. And then finally the Razzers. The Razzers sadly have turned, well, I say sadly like it's a bad thing, they've turned out to be 2 hens. The eggs were clear, so I was thinking that's, I'm surprised because the Razzers were fit. Check the vent of what was supposed to be the cockbird, and it's definitely a hen. And I've then seen it trying to build a nest in the back corner and sit on the eggs as well. So yeah, we've got 2 Razzer hens rather than a pair. So I'm swapping one with a friend who's got some spare Razzer cocks. If we both end up with a pair, we both benefit. We can both breed some young Razzers as well. So we'll be getting that hopefully later today. A new Razzer Canary cock going, and a hen going out. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll let them go again, and we'll get some better results from those this next time round. So there you are, guys, Breeding British Birds episode 3. Hope you have enjoyed the show and you have picked up some tips along the way. Obviously upsetting a bit with the hybrids, but you know what, it happens, and we just got to expect it and try and do the best we can to make sure that we can make amendments and make sure we make best use of those birds separately this year. So I don't know what we'll do with the Norwich, but I think we need to get it up to health first, and then we'll worry about it. The bully hen will pretty much go back down immediately, I would have thought, and we'll take something, and we'll see if we get any full eggs from her. A bit gutted about the greenies, obviously. obviously, you know, having a pair with some full eggs is nice, but I did expect full eggs from those guys every time round. To be honest, the cockbirds were fit, and I'm not quite sure why he's not filled those eggs. So, you know, like I said, we'll make a couple of changes, and hopefully he'll be all right. He'll get back on form and fill the eggs for the next round from that hen. So we'll see what happens. Good, you know, ups and downs this week. So hopefully a bit more fun next week. Chicks due next week, so next episode, young canaries and young greenfinches, I hope, and we'll see how it goes from there. So fingers crossed, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the show today, please do subscribe down below, smash a like on the video, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.